You know that feeling when you're helping a buddy decide whether to upgrade their kitchen gear, and you can already picture the chaos if they pick something that just doesn't fit. I was in that exact spot last week, chatting with a friend who runs a bustling downtown pizza joint. He's been using a split-deck oven for years, and every night the line stretches out the door. He asked me if a conveyor-style oven could actually smooth out the rush without breaking the bank. I pulled up the Omcan 11387 Conveyor commercial restaurant countertop pizza baking oven TS7000, and before I even started digging into the specs I said, link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. That way, if you're watching this and wondering whether this is the machine that will finally keep your kitchen flowing, you have a quick way to see the numbers. First off, the biggest hesitation people have with a conveyor oven is the fear of overcommitting to a piece of equipment that's both pricey and space-hungry. The TS7000 sits on a countertop, but it's not a tiny countertop. Its dimensions push the limits of a typical prep area, so you have to be sure you actually have that footprint to spare. On the flip side, the real magic of a conveyor system is that you set the temperature once, slide the pizza onto the belt, and walk away while the oven does the timing for you. That consistency is what separates a decent pizzeria from a great one during lunch rushes, especially when you're juggling multiple orders at once. So who should actually consider this oven? If you're running a commercial pizza shop, a fast casual concept that serves pizza as a core menu item, or a catering operation that needs to crank out dozens of pies in a short window, the Omcan TS7000 hits the sweet spot. The capacity is designed for a steady flow. 1 pizza per minute is realistic once you get the belt speed dialed in. The temperature range spans the sweet spot for most doughs, from a gentle 300F for a slow rise crust up to 500F for that blistered, leopard-spotted edge you see in New York-style pies. Those numbers give you the flexibility to experiment with different styles without buying a separate oven for each. If, however, you're a home hobbyist or a small CAF that only serves pizza once or twice a day, the conveyor might feel like overkill. You'd be paying for a machine that can handle a high-volume line, but you'd rarely tap into that capacity. In that scenario, a deck or stone oven that sits on a smaller footprint would likely give you more bang for your buck. Now, let's talk practicality. The first thing I noticed when watching a few demo videos is how the belt moves at a constant speed, but you can actually adjust it. That means you can slow the belt for a thick, deep dish pizza and speed it up for a thin margherita. The control panel is straightforward, no menu-driven labyrinth. You dial in the temperature, set the belt speed, and the oven maintains that temperature across the entire belt length. For a kitchen that already has a lot of moving parts, that simplicity can be a lifesaver. It removes the guesswork of opening the door to check if the pizza is done, which can cause temperature dips and uneven cooking. A real-world use case I heard from a fellow restaurateur: they used the TS7000 during a weekend wedding catering gig. They needed to serve 120 slices of pizza in under 2 hours. By preloading the dough, topping each pie, and feeding them onto the conveyor as soon as the previous ones exited, they kept a steady output without a single pizza getting stuck or undercooked. The oven's ability to hold a consistent temperature across the belt meant every slice tasted the same, which is a huge win when you're feeding a crowd that expects uniform quality. That said, there are trade-offs you have to weigh. The electrical draw is something to keep on your radar. This unit runs on a standard commercial 240-volt circuit, but it's a fairly power-hungry appliance. If your kitchen's electrical panel is already near capacity, you might need an upgrade, which adds to the overall cost. Also, the conveyor belt itself is a moving part that requires regular cleaning. Food particles can get trapped in the rollers, and if you don't clear them out after each shift, you could end up with a buildup that affects the belt's motion. It's not a huge maintenance chore, but it's a step you have to remember to add to your end-of-day routine. Another subtle point: the oven's dimensions mean you need a clear space behind it for ventilation. The manufacturer recommends at least a few inches of clearance so the heat can dissipate properly. If you're squeezing the unit into a cramped kitchen, you could end up with hot spots that affect both the oven's efficiency and the safety of nearby staff. One thing that often trips people up with any commercial equipment is the return policy. Omcan notes that a restocking fee applies to all returns unless